My name is Earl Weener. I'm a member of the National Transportation Safety Board. The NTSB is an independent federal agency charged by Congress with investigating significant transportation accidents, determining the probable cause, and ultimately issuing safety recommendations aimed at preventing future tragedies. Before I go further, on behalf of the NTSB, I'd like to extend our condolences to the families and friends of those affected by this tragic crash. I would also like to recognize the combined effort of the multiple local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies working together on this crash. I would further like to express our gratitude to all of the first responders on the scene, including multiple passengers from the Amtrak train who, we understand, provided aid to those injured in the crash. We greatly appreciated their efforts. We look forward to working closely in collaboration with law enforcement and federal agencies, including the Federal Railroad Administration and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, as we work to determine exactly what happened. The NTSB arrived on scene at approximately 4:40 p.m. this afternoon. The investigator in charge is Mr. Pete Kotowski. Mr. Kotowski has more than 20 years' experience as an investigator. He'll be leading a multidisciplinary team of experts. Over the next few days, our investigators will work on scene to thoroughly document the crash site and gather factual information. Our mission is to understand not only what happened, but why it happened, and make recommendations to prevent it from happening again. We will not be determining the probable cause of the accident while on scene, nor will we speculate about the cause prior to the completion of the investigation. We expect the on-scene phase of the investigation to last several days. At this early stage, I don't have very much specific information to release this evening. However, I would like to take the opportunity to describe our investigative process and what we will be looking for while on scene these next few days. The NTSB team will be divided into several investigative disciplines with different areas of focus. The investigative groups will be led by NTSB experts in both highway and railroad, and will include the following groups: a human factors group, a highway factors group, a vehicle factors group, motor carrier group, and survival factors group. The human factors group will focus on the operators involved, look at their backgrounds, licensing, experience, and level of training. We will also determine if any operator had a condition which may have contributed to the crash. Conditions we look for include vision impairment, potentially impairing medical conditions, impairment by alcohol or other drugs, or possibly fatigue. We also consider distraction as a potential factor. Finally, we will be looking at each operator's actions leading up to the crash. The highway factors group will conduct an in-depth investigation of the grade crossing and the surrounding roadways, including roadway configuration and geometry, the flow and speed of traffic, warning signs posted near the crossing, accident history, weather and visibility, and other environmental factors. The vehicle factors group will examine the mechanical condition of the truck involved, and will be looking for the vehicle components, including the brake system, steering, suspension, powertrain, as well as tires and wheels. The motor carrier group will evaluate the safety of the vehicle operator. That will include an in-depth review of the operations, vehicle maintenance, and compliance with applicable regulations. The survival factors group will examine occupant injuries as they relate to the dynamics of the crash. The investigation will focus on the crashworthiness of the vehicles involved, including occupant protection and emergency response. In addition to the highway specialists, investigators from our Railroad Safety Office will be looking at the rail operations and signal issues. Finally, we will bring all recorder specialists to retrieve and examine all available recording devices from the vehicles and the surrounding environments. Any recovered data will be analyzed in our headquarters lab in Washington, D.C. As we learn more about the investigation, we will keep you informed by providing regular updates. For the latest information on media briefings, I encourage you to follow us on Twitter and on our website. You can find us on Twitter at NTSB_newsroom and on our website, www.ntsb.gov. There are members of our public relations staff here on scene with me here today, Mr. Chris O'Neill and Keith Holloway. Be sure to provide them with a card so that we can add you to our distribution list. With that, I'd be happy to take a few questions.
Sir, I'm Heidi Brown with the Associated Press. There's been some conspiracy theories floating around. One of them is that maybe hackers took control of the traffic signal and caused the crash. Can you speak to that particular theory?
If we find anything that indicates that this was intentional, we will turn that over to the FBI.
The second theory was that when the Secret Service jumped off the train, they were fearing that there was some kind of a small arms or explosion plan or sabotage that they were going to face. Can you speak to that?
I really can't. It's very early in the investigation, and we've just been on scene for just a short period of time.
We also heard that there might have been some type of malfunction. There were reports from neighbors that the arm guards hadn't been working properly. Can you all talk about that, or have you seen that?
Again, it's early in the investigation. We have a signals expert, and we'll be looking at the safety of the grade crossing. That would include lights, arms, signals, crossbucks, and so forth.
Can you confirm the fatality and whether or not you've recovered the data recorder from the train?
As far as the fatality goes, is our policy to leave that to the local authorities. The second part of your question was?
The event recorder, have you recovered that yet?
We're in the process of retrieving the event recorders. We expect to find event recorders on the lead locomotive, on the trailing locomotive, and we'll be looking for event recorders on the truck. Those will go to our labs as soon as we find them. This side, yes.
Jackson Landers, New York Times. On that stretch of tracks, which, as locally understand, typically is carrying freight trains, would the sensors for that crossing for the gate to come down, would that typically be timed for the speed of a freight train or for the speed of a passenger Amtrak train?
Well, we'll be looking at the timing of gates and so forth, and for that reason we have a signal specialist whose role it is to make those kinds of investigations.
Can I follow up on that question? If you would just back up just a step and orient us for what you can confirm. So the train is heading west, and the trash truck is heading east up that hill. So my question is, do I have that correct? And is speed possibly a factor at a crossing which potentially could have a blind spot for a rural area?
You've described that well. We will be taking a look at all of that, but I've not been out to the scene. Most of the investigators have just arrived in the last couple of hours. So we've not had much time to take a look at that before the sun went down.
I guess just ask a different way. Is speed of the train and then the blind spot of the crossing factors you're looking at?
We'll be looking at those factors. That's affirmative.
Without even reaching any conclusion about this case, Amtrak has already said there are too many at-grade signal crossing mishaps and accidents. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree that there are too many. We've investigated several just in the past couple of years. There are a lot of fatalities at grade crossings, and that's become an area of focus. This is another one of the accidents that help us understand what the requirements are or what recommendations would improve the safety of grade crossings. Yes?
Do you know on average how many passenger trains go through that intersection per day?
How many passenger trains at that
Usually go through
intersection?
That intersection, yeah.
No, I have no idea at this point.
What's the speed limit?
I don't know.
Have you heard that for several days that there's been problems with the crossing arms, that they would come down when there was no train traffic, and they were stuck in that position, and for hours, and cars would be lining up, and motorists would be helping each other get across the grade?
Well, again, it's very early in the investigation, but we will certainly be taking a close look at that.
Do you happen to know if there was PTC on this track? Where this happened?
I don't know if there was PTC on this track. I rather suspect not.
People have told us that the crossing setup, the way it's set up, is unique and dangerous in itself. How exactly is this crossing set up to meet the guidelines for safety for cars to travel?
Again, it's very early in the investigation. Our team is really just assembled in the last couple of hours, so we've not spent very much time on scene. Tomorrow is going to be focused on getting the teams organized, getting people out on the scene to gather perishable evidence. So we expect this to take several days of on-scene work, followed by months back at headquarters.
Take a couple more questions, please.
Can I just follow up on that? When you're talking to Aaron, you described it as an accident. Are you saying this is an accident? And is it too early to rule out that for whatever reason, the truck could have been stationary position for an attack, for whatever reason would be their motive? I mean, in other words, do you know it was a actual crossing accident based on the early information you have?
At this point, we don't know.
You mentioned that the investigation is going to take several days, but what typically happens with the engine that's currently there? Where do you guys bring that after, and will that investigation continue on that engine?
Yeah, we've asked that the engines and the cars be impounded so that we can take a close look at the conditions. That's standard practice.
Last question.
Just to clarify, you said that you didn't know yet if this was an accident or an intentional placement of this truck on the tracks?
The NTSB does safety investigations. So the fact that we're here is a presumption that it was an accident. As I said, should we find anything which implies differently, we'd immediately involve the proper authorities. Thank you.